Hello, hello. Hey guys, we'll get kicked off here in a second. Get up and rocking and rolling. How's everybody doing?
I had a major wobble.
Hello. A major wobble?
Yeah, yesterday I wasn't there on the call because I just had a major wobble. I don't want to scare the horses or anything, but I'm in the midst of unbelievers and it's an extra hurdle to overcome.
Yeah. So without getting into too many details, Paul mentioned to me a little bit, and I've been there, and I've worked with a lot of people in that situation. And I'll talk a little bit about it today. I mean, I've got kind of a different topic that I want to talk about, but since we just have a couple of people on, I won't get into. Later on, I'll talk about kind of general topics about working with unbelievers, and we'll kind of touch on a couple of things. And I'll ask other people too, kind of what you guys think, how to work with it, how to get around it, what you do when you're faced with that kind of situation. So let's see. We'll get kicked off in a second. Anthony, how are you?
I'm good, Andrew. How are you?
Good. Doing well. Doing good. Fantastic. Ursula, you got a lot more light today.
I know. It's sunny for a change, but it's getting.
You froze.
It's in my office.
Okay. Yeah, I've got myself set up with the windows right in front of me, which helps with kind of the natural light, which is great, unless I haven't been in the sun much, and then I just look just unhealthy and sickly almost. When I go through a couple of calls and I look and, because I can see you guys, but I'm obviously right there as well. And so I see my picture and I go, oh, Andrew, you need some color. So sometimes I get sun, sometimes I just get some of that lotion that I just need color. Because otherwise I look like, I look like I belong in the Twilight series and I'm a vampire or something. It just doesn't work well. So
you're more British than you think.
Oh no, so when you do like the 23andMe and genealogy and all that kind of stuff, my background is Scottish, German, and Welsh. And
well, there you go.
So when people ask, I go, well, I'm white, whiter, and whitest.
Exactly.
I'm about as ultimate Caucasian as you can get in that regard. So, but I claim, so I grew up in Oakland, California, surrounded by every nationality you can think of, and then I spent a couple years in Brazil and learned to speak Spanish or Portuguese, and then living in Orlando, I've had to learn how to speak Spanish, doing what I was doing, there was a lot of that. And then my ex, I was married 12 years to a Brazilian. So I think I've had enough beans and rice and being in other countries and connecting with enough other cultures. I feel like I've balanced out the amount of whiteness that I have flowing through me at times. I hope, it just kind of depends. So on that note, welcome domestic and international friends and family. Good to see you guys. Hello, Ian.
Hey, mate.
For some of you guys that are on late, like Ian, appreciate it. Other you guys that are, wherever you're at, I appreciate you guys hopping on and joining us. How's everybody doing? Talk to me a little bit about feedback from calls the last couple of days, thoughts that you may have had after the fact. A lot of times it's just the one thing that kind of gnaws at the back of your brain until a few hours later you're laying in the bed and you went, holy hell, he said that, and something kind of stuck. Did anybody have an aha moment over the last couple of days that they can share?
Well, yeah, I did.
Anything you want to share?
Can you get me, mate? You hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look, I'm a bit of a senior person. We put that nicely in Australia. So some of the stuff is particularly deep, but it's good information. So heard it before, but I do get something every time. And I think the most important thing really for me is that you set your goals in stepping stones and you achieve them one by one.
Yep.
And you congratulate yourself and reward yourself for all those goals.
Yeah.
As you do, step by step. And that's a way to success.
Good. So hopefully, yeah, you guys pick up something out of this, looking at the power of what the ideal is, right? And that, that dream, that fairy tale, and having enough juice behind what you're going for to get up and get your ass out of bed and get to work and deal with the ups and downs and the frustrations and everything else that may happen and going through that, and yet celebrating the little things and doing that by looking at progress as opposed to simply, how far you still have to go towards your goal. So good. Hopefully you guys have got something out of that. Now, here, let me see if I've got this link the right way. All right. That's the link for the PowerPoint. Okay. So if you want to pull that from there and look through it, great. I do not have, some people, when they do PowerPoints, they have like speaker notes. I don't do that. So, hopefully you've got some notes that can kind of accompany some of the pictures if you want to be able to pull that. Paul, it looks like you're driving and you were one of the ones that asked, so I'll have to email you.
I will be like in 3-4 minutes. I will be in my office, so I should be fine.
Okay, good. So you'll be able to pull it. Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't want to miss anything.
So. Access is required. Okay, well, let me see if I can. Got it. Let me get the link.
That's it. Excuse me. It's Friday. It's time to knock off. So I'm having a red wine.
Good.
Looks good.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's midnight where you're at. Go for
it.
Yeah. I'm wrapping up. And anybody else have plans for the weekend? Hopefully you guys are doing something fun. I'm a little bit later on. Here you go, guys.
Do you guys?
Usually I'm on call, so I'm working. No wine for me.
I am about.
I have a morning here, so
I'm about to head to the beach.
My first coffee.
All right, so that's the link. Hopefully, I think I opened it up with the link. You should be able to do it. I think I had it on within the organization only. So, what I want to do, there is a principle. So I've talked about it, and maybe we'll get a little bit more into it at another time. But I wanted to talk about leverage. Is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about achieving massive results with smaller actions. So, talking about this principle, this is something where there's kind of 6 or 7 key areas where you can utilize leverage in what you're doing, especially as we're looking at businesses. I'm going to cover those. And the reality is, guys, is you can take any single one of those topics and create whole trainings on them. And I've done that. And you've probably heard some of those from other places. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about just, a handful of kind of basic principles. And then maybe at one point or another, we're going to increase it. Before I jump into that, though, as we were starting the call, someone mentioned something. And so I wanted to kind of bring it up to everybody here. What do you do when faced with a bunch of unbelievers around you? What do you do when friends and family members are kind of pushing back and saying you're crazy to do it, or that's never going to work, or it's not going to work for you? You're not built for this. That's for other people. It's not for us. That's not going to last. What are you thinking? This is, that's not real. This isn't real. I asked everybody else, as you guys started, the 1s, 2s, and 3s, do you believe it? Is it just for others, or do you believe you finally found it? Guys, request access. If it's still saying denied, then request access, and I'll go in and I'll just let everybody.
There's an old trick in the world, Andrew, and that is like sometimes people don't need to know about what you're doing until you do it.
Right. Well, what do you do if it's someone that's so close you can't keep it hidden? Right. What do you do if you're in a relation, like a significant other, right? Now, I've mentioned, my fiance doesn't work in the business, but she's fully aware of what's going on. There have been moments where she's been incredibly doubtful, and yet I've moved forward. My ex, it was different, So what do you do in that situation, guys? I've got some thoughts and feelings, but what do you guys think?
Well, I reckon you give them a rundown of the basic, but not too much detail, and say, this is good for all of us. Let me be. It's all good.
Okay. So, anybody else?
I think you've got to believe in yourself first, and then, your partner's just got to, if your partner doesn't believe in you, then you kind of have to wonder a little bit about whether they really understand you. If they're not interested, you get that in all sorts of things, with religion, with work, with all sorts of things. I think you just have to agree to disagree and move forward with what you want to do and what you believe.
Which can be, so look, and so what I want to do is kind of look at the principles, and Matthew will come to you in just a second, but guys, we got to look at the reality of the fact that, there are platitudes that we can throw out all day long, but there are, when it comes to an investment of time, effort, and money, there is that chance of alienation. And so how do you avoid that? What can you do to bridge that gap? Now, there's always going to be those extremes. Some partners are going to be always 100% on board no matter what. And some are always going to be against it. Okay, that's the reality. Some people are always going to be against it, and there's nothing you can do. Sometimes that happens. So what do you do in the middle? Matthew, you had a thought, and I cut you off there.
Oh, sorry. So, I think sometimes too, when somebody pushes back, like our instinctive or our gut reaction will be there. They don't believe in me. They're not thinking about me. How could they be so selfish? Which is ironic. But in reality, they're just concerned. They love you. And if you it's about trust, right? So you build trust with your partner.
Yep.
And you have compassion for the fear that they have for you and for themselves.
Yeah. And so, guys, this is kind of where we're talking about our blueprints. We're talking about where we grew up and the things that we've learned. You got to understand a lot of them are coming from the same place or something even more difficult, right? If you've got, at this point, all of us here are adults. So if we look at it and we say a minimum 30 years and above, for 30 years, you've been living, thinking, and behaving a certain way. You may have gotten to that point. What did I talk about before? I said there's two big ways that you change your mind and you decide I'm going to take some major action. And one of that is something major hits you, that car accident or some kind of, you have that aha moment. And so you decide I'm going to change course because damn it, I'm sick and tired. I'm fed up. And it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Meanwhile, they're still carrying that load. And they haven't broken yet, and they're just beat down enough that it's hard to see the hope. So what do you do in that case? And I can give you some ideas. I can give you some things that I've learned, some things that I've done, and some things that I've seen. Obviously, each situation is going to be different. First and foremost, guys, I think is kind of what
Andrew. Can I say something before you go into that? Because I'm
absolutely.
in that exact situation.
Yep.
Just what you just described. So I'm in one side and then my husband is in another direction.
Sure.
So when I was ready to do this, I told myself that I'm not going to say anything to him because I know exactly what the response is going to be. So I'm going to take a leap of faith and do this. I haven't done it before. I'm just going to do this. And if it works, now I decided to not say too much, but to show my result if they are good. And if they're bad, I don't know how I'm going to keep it to myself, but that's just the decision that I made.
Part of this, guys, is the understanding, and when you go into something, when you go into anything with the goal of I'll show them, right? When you go in saying I'll show them my results, I would love to say that results are always going to convince people, but it doesn't, right? Look, I think what's happening, because a lot of you guys are international, but I don't care even if you are international. Everybody knows what's going on here politically in the U.S., right? It's a dumpster fire, both sides. And I'm not getting into one side or the other, this or that. One side can show statistics and numbers and everything else, and people will look at it and go, nope, I don't believe it. And the other side will show other statistics and numbers and everything else, and and the other one will say, I don't believe it. And, think about sometimes, guys, this is a lot like what you're talking about is a lot like politics. If you sit down with a friend who's got a different point of view and they say, well, I'm going to vote for this person. And you go, well, I'm going to vote for this person. And then they say, well, that's the wrong decision. You should do something else. How many times are they going to go, you know what? You're right. You are absolutely correct. I've been wrong this whole time. I believe the wrong thing. I'm going to change right now. Right. The same thing applies here, guys. It goes with what Matthew is saying, right? Our first response is they don't believe in me, or they don't trust me, or we get defensive. You just don't know what you're talking about, and there's that reaction. One of the first things you have to do is make sure that when you have that conversation, and on recording here, hand to the sky, I will never tell you to lie to your partner. I will never tell you to hide things from your partner. I don't believe in that. Okay. With that said, the first thing that you need to do, along with that empathy, whenever you have that conversation, is not get defensive and try and listen to see where they're at. Where's it coming from, right? Why are they scared first? Second thing is you're never going to overcome that unless there is enough passion and belief in yourself and what you are doing to get to that next level, to see yourself through, right? To know, like to have that ideal so damn clear in your mind and know I'm going after that because that's what I'm after. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up on it. I'm going to go after because that's what I want. That's what I want in my life. That's how I want things to be. I feel like this is the pathway to get there. And you know what? It may not be. Down the road, I may have to shift. I may be able to utilize this for a certain amount of time, and then something else is going to make me take that another step. And just because something hasn't worked in the past doesn't mean that this won't. And that's sometimes what they're doing is they're applying all of the other stuff. And when they go, well, you've tried X or this hasn't worked before, you go, well, you know what else didn't work before? All of the relationships that you had before me. And you know what? Now it does. So toughen up, buddy. Right? I turned you, ma'am, you, sir, into an individual that someone could put up with for the last 2 decades. And I'm going to do the same thing with my business. So, watch me kind of thing. And I say that a little tongue in cheek, but a big part of this starts with the personal belief. Now, how do you develop that enough if you don't have it yet? The key to that is clarity. Go ahead, Gerald.
Yeah. Right, Andrew, one of the things that I realize is that everybody's looking for security. So as soon as you start taking a risk, even if it, in their mind, it could be a risk, but it's just like, the books that we're reading as far as that's concerned. If they are more secure, they're more interested in making sure that the funds that they have in the bank account are safe and secure and they're there for future as far as that's concerned. That's a mindset that you will not change. You will not get them to change their thoughts behind it. But
at least not right away.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's something that's going to take time. And it's now, you say, okay, so where does that ask them? Say, you know what, let's have a conversation. Let's try and have a conversation. I want to hear and understand what you're saying. And, 2020, I think, opens up the door to this conversation in a way that may not have been possible a year ago. Right?
Yep.
Yes. When they talk about security,
online business,
when they talk about wanting things to be a certain way, you say, you know what, I've looked at the last 6 months. Do you feel like the last 6 months have given us a position of strength in everything that's going on? Or, how do you feel? And where do you think things are going? Joanna?
Yeah, it's true what people are saying about, I know that my husband's fear, it comes from the same place that mine does. We from a very similar place. We were born in similar places. We had very similar upbringings. And I know that his fear is the same as mine. But you're right. You have to at some point, and I'm 60, when is it going to happen if it's not going to happen soon? And I have to get back on the horse. And yesterday I was ready to give up, but I'm not. And it's true. You have to keep having those conversations, not get defensive, and prove that you can do it.
First and foremost, you have got to prove it and believe in yourself. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say that because, you talk about you guys grew up in the same way. Look, how many of you guys have a brother or a sister? When we talk about growing up the same way, how many of you guys have a brother or sister that looks at something like this and tells you you're out of your mind? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So my older sister who went to college, because I never finished college. Okay. I never did. I feel like I've put in a little bit of study time on certain topics. I've learned a little bit. I feel like I read a little more than the average person. So I've tried to do that. She finished college. When we look at work history, we look at this, we look at that. When I got started working online, she told me I was crazy. And I mentioned this story, I think last week at some point, but she told me I was nuts, right? This isn't going to work. You're not going to be able to do it. What are you doing? So after those arguments, I just kind of got quiet and went to work. Now, after a couple of years, we took, it was the first time Sierra had ever gone. I took her to Vegas. This is for almost 5 years ago. And I'd been working online for a while. Things were going well. We had gone to Puerto Rico. We had done Cancun, Mexico. We had done New York, and now we were doing Vegas. And I'm there, and my sister lives in Vegas. And so we met up for dinner. And we said, hey, let's all go to dinner. And we're sitting there, and she says, Andrew, I'm so happy for you. Seems like you really found a great job. You're doing good. That's so awesome to see. You guys have been able to vacation. What are you doing for work now? And I looked at her, because what did she assume? She assumed I went back to the regular pathway, right?
5.
Yep.
And I said, I'm still doing that internet thing. And that's all I said. I didn't get into details on what I was doing, because I didn't want to try and explain to her how it all worked and blah, blah, blah. And you're successful. You're doing so great. Love to see you travel because you've got a good job. To what the hell are you thinking? You're crazy. That's not going to work. I can't believe you're still doing that. What are you thinking? Are you out of your mind? You need to get something stable, on and on and on. Mm-hmm. Right? What changed? The only thing that changed was her perception of where the money was coming from. Mm-hmm. Not the fact that I was traveling, not the fact that I was earning income, not any of that. Just her perception of it. The reality, and we grew up in the same place. We grew up with the same teaching. It was all the same stuff. But my belief wouldn't let that sabotage it. Joanna.
Yeah, but you're right that COVID has changed things. And the thing is, I'm a musician and a composer by trade. That's my trade. Normally, I'm gigging from April to October all over Europe, and I can't do that. And my other thing is that I'm training to be is a sound therapist as well, so that I can do that from home. But that money, I'm still doing case studies. I don't have that ability to earn money. The thing that is likely to get me some income faster is this.
Faster, long term, it opens it up to a larger audience. There's all sorts of different things. Exactly. But again, guys, this is going to be, at its heart, you've got to know not just your why, but your vision of what you're doing has to be clear, and that passion has to be strong enough. So when you have that conversation, it's, listen, I fully understand your trepidation. I understand, because I've felt some of those same things. Heck, I've felt some of those doubts recently, but I know what's possible and I see it. And I'm not, like, we're not selling air, guys. It's not a pyramid. We're not trying, I'm not taking Matthew's money and paying Anthony and taking Anthony's and paying, that's not what's happening. You're learning a skill. You're utilizing a form of marketing. So it would be like in the old days, you're walking out with a bunch of flyers and we're giving you the flyers done and printed and everything else. And you're generating customers for yourself, right? And then we're giving you some stuff to sell. Like, there's different ways to look at it. But point of matter is that the opportunity is here. And if I'm not sure, and when I say sure, I'm sure about where I want to go. I'm sure about why I want to get there. And I'm sure I'm willing to put in the effort. You don't have to be sure that you've got the skill set, because 90% of you don't. And you got to be okay with that, right? We've talked about leverage. That was, so a big part of my training today was going to be about leverage and how to, fill in those gaps. So maybe you don't have the skill set. Maybe you don't even have the mindset yet. It's not strong enough yet. And that's okay, because it can be strengthened. It is a muscle, just like anything else that can be developed. Doubt is still going to creep in from time to time. And if you understand that, then a year from now, when Matthew's kicking butt, he's got his coaching business, he's got the, all these things are going on, there's going to be a day or a week, or you're going to look in the mirror at one point and go, now what? Or maybe at the very beginning, where, because Matthew, you said it with the group the other day, kind of not the fake it till you make it, but how do I start at the beginning when I don't have the results yet? You lean on others, right? So what do you do to get through that doubt? Now, the way that you get through that is because you are clear in what you want to achieve. There's clarity in a big, big way. And then you commit to going after that goal. Okay. And I think what I'll do is, because we're about into this already, I'm going to give the leverage training next week. But what I'm going to do on Monday, I'm going to talk about confidence. The problem that a lot of us have is, and I'm going to teach you how you can have confidence in just about anything. And this is one last training from Mr. Sullivan, from Dan, but I've added a little bit to it. He talks about how to develop confidence no matter what you're doing and the process that comes from it. One of the biggest problems that we have, guys, is that we want confidence before we start. I want to know it's going to work before it starts. What's the guarantee?
Yep.
Right? The guarantee is that you need to wake up, you need to eat, you're going to breathe, you're going to pay taxes, you're going to die, and at some point you're going to pay more taxes after you're dead. That's the guarantee that I got for you. What you do in the meantime is 100% up to you. How happy you are during that process, how much confidence you have during that, how much hope and life and power and passion you put into your life is ultimately going to come from you, right? There's a reason that, so-and-so, if so-and-so can achieve it, then damn it, so can you, right? There's the biggest difference with anybody is going to be the effort they put in and the belief that they put in, because the skills are available out there. Sometimes people say, well, I don't have the money. The money's there, right? Money's, and it's not just in the ether. It's available if I want to find it and I want to leverage it. It's just about, becoming resourceful. But you've got to be clear about what you want. And it can't just be, honey, I want a better life. It's got to be more than that, right? And then it's got to be, clear on your goals, and then you've got to commit to them. So what I'm going to do Monday, guys, I'm going to get in depth on how to, like, this process of confidence, what it really is, how it works, and steps that you can take. And if you recognize these things, then you can get there. That's self-confidence formula in Think and Grow Rich. Yep, perfect. Page 87 on chapter on faith. There you go. Read that this weekend, guys. Maybe that's what you do. I want you guys, here's your homework for the weekend, guys. Doubt's going to creep in, everything else, but we need to start with clarity in your vision. So I know a lot of you guys have already done this over and over and over. And before we get to the business plan call, I have you guys write down goals. Hopefully you've done that during this time. This week, I had you write down ideals and goals. Make sure that you're clear and make sure that you're committed. Whatever you need to do is, if you need to read that, you need to rewrite it, you need to sit down, whatever it is, get uber clear on what you want your life to be and what your business needs to look like to make that life a reality. Okay? Super simple assignment. But if done correctly, will give you power to overcome all of this other nonsense. Okay?
Just a quick thing, Andrea, only if you're fine with it. I do have a typed out version of the self-confidence formula. So I could share the document if anyone doesn't have Think and Grow Rich, but I'll leave that in your ballpark. Maybe I'll shoot it to you, Andrew, and if anyone asks you or however you want.
Depending on what you've got, if you've got like that page typed up, you mean?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Go ahead, send that to me. And then if anybody wants it, they can request it. You guys send me an email at Andrew@BlakeNewbar. It'll be a little bit later on this afternoon that I share it. But yeah, and then
there's no marketing on it or anything, so it's just
I just want to make sure it's not like the full PDF. I don't want to give out.
Oh no, it's just it's a page typed up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. So on that note, guys, does everyone kind of understand? What are your thoughts on today? Did this help? If nothing else, just kind of understand where you're at. Look, the doubts are going to come. It happens. Just but if you've got a hold of, man, there's so many different. I just don't have like 3 hours to go out. There's a handful of different topics that I want to jump in on. So here's what we're going to do. Monday, I'm going to talk about confidence in that process. And then Tuesday, I'm going to talk about overcoming all of this stuff with your why. I'm going to talk about an individual I got a chance to meet named James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy. How many of you guys have heard of him? The Iron Cowboy? No? Yes? There's an amazing, if you guys want like a sit down on the weekend.
Ned
like,
Kelly down there, mate.
What's that?
Ned Kelly in Australia.
Yeah, Ned Kelly. Well, the difference is, and I know who that is. James Lawrence did 50 Ironmen in 50 states in 50 days.
Wow.
50, right?
Impressive.
And no one before him had done more than like 10 Ironmans in a year. He did 50 in 50 states in 50 days, right? And so I want to talk about that. It's so.
What's his name?
His name's James Lawrence, but it's the Iron Cowboy. It's on Amazon Prime. There's a documentary. If you want to blow your mind, if you want to sit on the couch and feel like I don't do anything with my life, I need to do something, that's a great documentary for it. It's absolutely awesome. Khadijah, I don't normally, Khadijah, if you email me, I'll respond, but I don't normally email out as a group right now. I'm not sure if that's what so anyway, on that note, guys, it's like 12:30. We've got some extra other topics. Okay, Renee had sent me an email. I need to respond. I will get into people's emails this afternoon. I hope you guys got a little bit out of today.
Thank you.
Go out, strengthen your own belief and your own vision. Be clear, clarity, ladies and gentlemen. If you're clear on stuff, then the rest of it falls into place. If you're vague in all of the rest of it, it doesn't matter.
Cool. Yeah.
None of it does, right? Mm-hmm. So think about it like this. If you were to sit down with your spouse and just say, honey, we need to talk. I want things to be better. If they said that to you, what would your response be? Right? I want things to be better. Well, what the hell does that mean? I'm doing, right? So think about your business, your life, your goals, and everything else. If you just want things to be better, you're out of luck. If you're specific and clear and you've got that vision just down, you'll get there. Okay? Monday is going to be about confidence. I promise it'll be quality. A lot of you guys should be into your business plan next week. Get rocking and rolling. Reach out to your accountability rep and let them know you want to get there. So let's do that. And then obviously, even if you get to the accountability or the business plan call, you guys are always welcome on these calls. Okay. You're always welcome to come back and keep listening and participating. I love everybody's feedback. So on that note, love you guys much. I will see you soon. Go out, kick butt, have an amazing weekend, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Have a good
Thanks,
weekend.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.